What is going on, everyone? It's your guy Cole Jackson back here on Road Graders. We're going to be continuing our run through the Baltimore Ravens draft class, brought to you by our friends at Jimmy's Seafood, brought to you today on the Russell Street Report. Thank you to Jimmy's for sponsoring this episode. Jimmy's is proud to team with the Western Golf Association and Evan Scholars Foundation to present The Tailgoat, driven by the BMW Championship, featuring OAR, the band which has served as the soundtrack to Jimmy's for 29 years, finally comes home this summer, June 28th. Go check it out. You all know the Tailgoat. Get in on it. Thank you to Jimmy's for sponsoring. We're going to be diving into our next prospect, the Baltimore Ravens draft pick of Anaes Peebles, a guy that was, I don't want to say unanimous, felt unanimous, unanimously being sought in day 3 of the NFL draft by Baltimore Ravens fans. I thought it was, if we go back a couple picks, people were, as far as Tyler Loop's pick, people were banging the table hoping for Peebles because, when you take a look at the depth chart, there was some gaps. Well, there still is. They filled they filled the nose tackle gap, but looking for depth at the pass rush ability spot for the interior defensive line. And I think that's a spot that a lot of folks are interested in. I know I am, because we saw the success that the Eagles defensive line had, having a guy that was their third defensive tackle as Milton Williams, right? They kind of had Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter as, the quote unquote starters, but as Davis would come out, they'd put Milton Williams in. And what I'm hoping the Ravens can develop here is having that third rotational defensive tackle. Maybe won't be a guy like Milton Williams, who just got paid a ton of money and was one of the most efficient interior pass rushers, but a guy that can get out there and give you an interior pass rush on a lighter, a lighter defensive formation, because I love Travis Jones, but he's going to be, you want to manage his snaps as a nose tackle, right? He's a guy that can give you that pass rush upside on early downs. But when we get into third and long situations, I think they want to get a guy like Peebles to develop to be that guy that can get out there and rush with Madubuike, get, 2 4-eye techniques, 2 3 techniques, that sort of thing, and spread that defensive line out and create those one-on-one opportunities, force the center to slide into space and create that one-on-one on the opposite side. So that's what we're going to be diving into. And when you look at the advanced stats of Anaes Peebles, you see exactly what the Ravens are hoping for here. Ridiculous pass rush production. A guy that I would say didn't play a ton of snaps. He was managed a little bit, but a 17.8% pass rush win rate. That is absurd. A guy that, put together 31 hurries, 3 hits, 3 sacks. I'm always a little worried when I see a ton of hurries, not so much quarterback production. But when you go back to last year, 9 hits on the quarterback, 6 sacks, 3 hits. That's pretty much up there. If you're getting 3 sacks, 4 sacks from a defensive tackle, that's pretty productive in terms of sack production. And he's done it across the last 3 years, 3, 6, and 3. So a guy that's consistently disruptive, a guy that's consistently winning. And when you look down at the bottom, you can see his snap by alignment. And so you'll see 127 snaps in 2023 as the A gap. That's something that North Carolina did, was just kind of line him up over the center in 3-man lines. At Virginia Tech, when he transferred in 2024, he was much more that kind of that defensive tackle I'm talking about, where he'd be kind of, playing that 4-eye-3 technique. And that's really what I think he'll do at the next level. When you look at his relative athletic score, it really puts into perspective the size. And a lot of people are like, okay, if he's this productive, why'd he drop? And I really think it comes down to his size. He's 6 foot, 282. He is 100% undersized. I wouldn't deny that at all. But I think you'll see as we go through his tape how he mitigates that size by being explosive, by using his lateral agility. And he tested really well there. You see the vertical, scored in the upper tier in the 90th percentile for his vertical. His 40 was very, very solid. He's got that, long speed ability. Shuttle wasn't as good as I was expecting. I honestly, when you watch him move, I thought it would have been better. I wish we would have saw his 3-cone, because I think his 3-cone would have been quite solid as well. But it's really his size that brings down his relative athletic score, because, he scores in the green in both explosion and speed, and I think we'll see that. So without further ado, if you guys would do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. Let's dive into the tape. Peebles' pass rush ability, and specifically the way in which he wins. I think that's one of the key things I want to focus on here, because I think it complements what the Baltimore Ravens have at the position already. And I think he's going to bring, obviously Nnamdi Madubuike is one of the top defensive tackles from a pass rushing perspective in the league. So he can do it all, of course. But when I'm looking at the depth around Matabike specifically, you're going to get a guy with athletic upside that, they just don't have in some of these other guys. Obviously, Travis Jones is very athletic for a nose, but talking about a guy that can win with finesse and that sort of thing. Let me just bring up my screen brush so that we have it. I want to really focus in here early on how he wins. So this is going to be, I guess, for lack of a better word, a little bit of a highlight reel, just taking a look at how he wins. So here we're going to have him over top of 73, and this is one of his go-tos, that spin move. And this was kind of the highlight of his season once he transferred to Virginia Tech. So he's going to start inside here as a 2-eye technique. So he split just inside, and he sets this up really well with that first step. So he just takes a hard inside step. And what that does is it forces 73, which might be Jalen Rivers. We should look that up. I should look that before. So as soon as he steps here, because you can see him angling towards there, his head's focused on the A gap. So you're going to get that inside post step from the guard. So there's that. So what that does is it forces him to take that step inside. You have your tackle out here on an island, the tight end's on this side. So we're set up really well here with that inside step that's going to force the guard to play inside, because the reason that's so important is because of the open space here, and that's exactly how Peebles sets us up. So he's going to do that and then spin back inside and just absolutely destroy Cam Ward early. This is a fast win. This is a high-quality pass rush win right here. So, I mean, a guy like Brandon Thorne looks at these throughout the NFL season. He looks at, sacks, high-quality sacks, and then rare high-quality sacks. I would think this is a rare high-quality sack because it's such a quick win. It's such a nasty move, and, he just gets right to him. And that's what I mean by the way in which he wins. So the spin move and the swim move are two finesse pass rushing moves that he uses a ton. So he's going to be in here. We can't see. I think he's lined up more as, again, kind of that 2-eye technique across from the guard. But you're going to see on this one as well, there's that inside step, and then he spins back outside. So this is kind of something that was a bit of a trademark of his, was that inside step into the outside spin, and it's something that, worked really well for him here. When he was at Virginia, or more when he was at Duke, they did a really good job of getting him one-on-one against the center, and he did a lot less at Virginia Tech, like I talked about in the opening, but you are going to see a rep here where they kind of move him inside, and you can see some of the value of it. So as we play this through, there's that quick swim, right? So that's what I'm talking about in terms of different ways he wins. He gets into the spin there and then tracks down the quarterback. So those types of finesse, and not only the finesse, but something that I won't underrate, his motor. So as soon as he hits that, he hits him with a clean swim, but he's getting double teamed. So the right guard comes over to take him on. And rather than just kind of try and dead rush it through the inside here, he spins back outside to try and create for himself right there. And that's what opens him up into that secondary pass rush move where he gets into the sack opportunity. Now we're against Stanford here. We're on the inside. This is right as the ball was getting snapped. So it looks like he's offside, but he had actually already taken a step forward here. Play it through. And then there's, again, active hands. Almost goes into the spin, but you can see how active his hands are and how consistently he wants to move laterally to win these. And this is why what I'm talking about in terms of that athletic pass rush upside. So he's not just a guy that's going to convert speed to power. He's not a bull rusher. He is an athletic rusher, and he's undersized, but he is athletic, and that's what you really see show up on tape is those athletic pass rush wins, and that's why it's so important is getting those wins. So here we're going to be a little bit more outside here, again across from the guard. Oh, that wasn't him. Wrong. No, he's back up against the center. I don't know why his snaps are. It really shows when he lined up at the one tech how often he won. You see him split right there, split through the double. He's getting doubled here from both sides, and the running back stepping up into his face. He still sneaks through and is able to get the sack. So just a guy with that type of athletic upside I think is very exciting. The athleticism that he shows in his relative athletic score absolutely shows up, not only in terms of straight line explosiveness, but also that lateral ability, and that's how he wins. It's with that, again, that spin move, which I think is kind of his go-to, and the ability to put together a swim move into that as well, and those are more athletic finesse pass rush wins. So here you're going to see him kind of, try and hit that spin, and sometimes it doesn't work. That's why I want to include it. This is him back at Duke in 2023. So a little bit of, good drive there at the end, but, this is where the spin move can be great, but when you're likely ending up against a double team, you need to be able to spin into space. And that's why I really like that first one against Miami where he set that up so well. So here you're just going to get that kind of dead spin. So I just want to put that in there because some D-line coaches hate spin moves because once you hit it can be very hard to get yourself square to the quarterback. It's kind of one of those you have to win it or else it's hard to get into a secondary pass rush move because it sometimes will stand you up. So I know a lot of D-line coaches that actually hate the move, but obviously it's a highlight win, and when you're able to hit it and do it well, it's exciting. And obviously Peebles is a guy that it's not going to hit 100% of the time, but it hits more often than it doesn't. So here I just wanted to show, again, some of this ability to show that finesse move. So here we're going to end up two technique across from the guard. Center's going to slide. He's going to pop his hands. Get that back over. So he's going to pop his hands, and then as he pops his hands, he's going to bring that right hand over. Ball comes out quick. That's Drake May right there. So you're just going to see that right there. Bring that over. So that kind of, again, quick win ability is something that I think Peebles really has in his arsenal. Here we're outside kind of as a 4-eye technique. And then there's that ability to get under the pad. So this is where your height, being shorter, can play into your advantage. And this is something that, to unlock his game and take him to the next level, that speed to power conversion and that ability to bull rush guys is what needs to happen. So you're going to see him again against 73, the guy that he just bullied earlier. So you're going to see him nice and low. And this is a good spot to be. We're high here as this guard. Those hips are up, and he's going to drive him right through and, put a little bit of that collapsing pocket pressure on the quarterback, so make him a little bit uncomfortable. So that ability to use that drive block ability, that's something that I think he needs to do consistently to get to that next level when he's here in Baltimore, and that's something that I think we'll see a ton of where we'll see coaches focusing on his development. Again, back at Duke, they used a lot of these 3-man lines where he'd be up as the nose. They didn't play him as a traditional nose. It was really out of these 3-man alignments, so that's why that number of A-gap snaps that I showed you at the start was a little inflated. But you'll still see some stuff like this, right? So this is what I'm talking about. So they're going to get a full-line slide, so everybody's going to slide left. So the center's going to come with him, but he's going to come back inside. And as he comes back inside, that guard stays. So he's just going to, again, there's that swim move, right? And then he's going to get in there and force that. I wouldn't even call it a throwaway, but he's going to try and force Drake May to get that ball up there, and there's nobody home. So again, that ability to win and win quickly and win with athleticism coming in there. And I like how when he gets through, right here we're kind of stumbling. I like how he squares himself back to the quarterback right away. So you're going to see him right here as he broke through. He's kind of slanted this way, but he's going to do a really good job to re-square his body. Let's try and go through a little slow. See right there. Right there. So he's going to force himself, and that just shows how flexible his hips are to be able to kind of work back to his right side and try and get more square with the quarterback in case he had to, tackle. You obviously don't want to be arm tackling even quarterbacks, but guys like Drake May who have a little bit of shake to them. So here, again, back against 73, we're lined up as a 4-eye again. So again, he's kind of split out a little bit more wide at Virginia Tech than we saw at Duke. And then here's that relentless motor, right? So he's going to try and hit with those swim moves. Again, that's his go-to, or one of his go-tos along with the spin move. So he's going to swim inside, and then as that door starts to collapse, he's going to come back outside as he's reading the quarterback. And that's what I like seeing here. He's got his eyes up on the quarterback, and then he's going to work back outside. Obviously most right-hand quarterbacks are going to scramble out right, and that's exactly what he's trying to read right there, back outside. And if the quarterback's not, or the running back's not there to kind of chip him there, he's going to have a little bit of a better lane. But that athleticism, that ability to move laterally, that ability to get into a secondary pass rush, I think that's what really has me the most excited, because again, he's not a guy that gets into these dead rushes where he just kind of gets, blocked and then the play's over. He's constantly fighting. He shows that relentless motor. I know that can be a tangible that folks don't usually care about so much, but how many times have quarterbacks scrambled around, in the back, in the pocket, not in the pockets, right, outside the pocket against the Ravens, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. You want those guys with that relentless motor that are going to keep rushing, keep getting after him to force that ball away before our receiver can work open. So I like to see that. He's going to be inside here, back inside a little bit in that A gap. And again, there's that ability I like. So as that center is going to slide over, he's going to get that arm. Can't really see it from this angle, but this right arm of his is going to get up into that inside hand right there. Kind of see the band on his arm right there. That's a freeze frame I wanted. So that's what I like to see here. He's going to work that hand up into that armpit as he came across his body and then work back inside, because it's going to be that nice lane to the quarterback. So his ability to kind of fight through that and then square up, and he ends up right there in the quarterback's lap. So again, that relentless motor, that ability to use leverage, use his hands really well, and use active hands, I think is really impressive. Outside here as a 4-tech, he's working those hands. Gets blocked decently well here, but I like seeing right here, pressing down on those hands. Looks like that is Rivers. Pushes down on those hands. I like that hand fighting ability. It's something I like to see of these guys coming out, because it shows the ability to take your hand and put it on their wrist and create those leverage points and create those, if you push down on a guy's wrist and then you're able to plant your hand, it can create those rush lanes. So, seeing him do that so well is something I really like to see. And then what I want to focus on here, this is something that I could see the Ravens really using him for. So these next two plays are kind of odd plays to show. He's going to start here as a 0-tech, and he's going to end up as the outside player. And how many times have we seen the Ravens, mug the A-gap with two backers, have two edges, have someone like Travis Jones out on the edge, those weird alignments that we always get into and take a look at because they're fun. And then you get a guy like Peebles, who is athletic enough and fluid enough of an athlete to work outside, I think really will fit in that framework. So you're going to see here, he's just working, and you can see he gets into a nice little edge rush here against the left tackle as he kind of bends that corner. I think he's getting held there, to be completely honest with you. So this was pretty cool to see, because I could just see the Ravens using a guy like this that has that type of athleticism to start him as a 0, bend him outside of the left tackle, and then have him have a pretty good bend against the left tackle. You see right there, get around the corner. So that's pretty cool. I like to see that type of stuff. We're going to see it again from the 0-tech. Again, just a little bit of that athleticism to move outside the pocket. You see it right there, right? So pretty much the same play, but that athleticism to move side to side, that lateral ability, that's something that I could see the Ravens really using. Then we get into his run defense. Obviously, for a guy that's a little bit lighter, what I wanted to see out of him was being a gap shooter, right? Because he's not a guy that's going to 2-gap. He's not a guy that's going to be, like a Broderick Washington type guy, where he's going to kind of, stack the offensive linemen, shed, read, that sort of thing. I think we want to get him out there to shoot gaps, and I think he does that extremely well. And he's going to use some of those same pass rush moves. So here we are against Rutgers. He's right here in the B gap, lined up as a 3 technique, and you're going to just see a nice little swim move off him right there, and just get in there and get the tackle for a loss. And that's the type of stuff that I want to see from him, is him just kind of attack a gap. I think that's what he's going to do well at the next level, just as a 1-gapper. You're going to see it right here. He's going to eat that A gap to his inside and just win right in, right there. Doesn't finish the tackle, but he trips him up. Reinforcements come. So that ability to eat those gaps and be able to execute those 1-gap assignments is what we want to see. He's going to be right here. See him take on that down block, stack. I'm lying to you. That's not him. He's on the. I got the wrong notes for this play. We're going to see a play where it looks almost identical to this. He's on this side. Right there, he's going to stack 53, come back inside. Linebacker steps up on Hampton. We all know Hampton. He got drafted early this year, and then he's going to get in on the action and chase him down. So just that ability to, take on contact from the down block, and then again, that lateral ability. So he's going to work across the block, work back across, and then have the athleticism to move over there. I think that's very impressive, that lateral ability. This was a play I really liked. This really demonstrates what I mean by that ability to one gap. Goal line formation. Obviously, they want to try and stack it up. You can see the formation they have here. Everybody's in tight. Looks like they're almost going to be doing a tush push with how they line up. See right there, they're getting set. Looks like they're just going to push. Peebles is right here. He's just going to absolutely destroy the right guard. So it ends up as a... See right there, they're going to go for the tush push, and they go nowhere. And the guy that disrupts us the most... You can see Peebles getting across right into the knees here, and you'll watch. This offensive lineman that Peebles is attacking is by far the most backed up. That's the offensive lineman's head. That's Drake Mays. So that's how far Peebles pushed him back. So there is nowhere for him to go. They stack up, and they prevent that. And that is... I'm not going to say entirely Peebles, because obviously the guys inside do a really good job, but the fact that he destroys just shows that athleticism, right? And that ability to one gap. And sometimes it really isn't about size. It's really about your ability to convert speed to power. I think that's so important because, if you can do that, if you can time the snap count well, and you can attack, you're going to take away all of their leverage points, and you're going to take away their ability to get into those drive block situations where they would be able to line you up with strength and push you back. He just attacks and one gaps, and it's really, really impressive. See him move inside here, and then again, look at him just eat that gap. He's going to come across, and he basically turns this into a drive block situation where he's going to drive the guard backwards. And so you're going to see right there. So he's not going to make a play on the ball, but you can see 12 coming in there. He just creates that disruption. Getting right here. This is the play I thought we were looking at earlier. So he's just going to work laterally, right? So they're going to get pullers going here. He's going to work across the down blocks, not make the tackle, but he's going to eat the blocker, which is probably one of the more important things, and that allows the linebackers to come in and do their job. So that ability to move laterally. See right there, he's going to stack up, which again, he doesn't make the tackle, but he is able to create for his teammates. And so there you have it, folks. I mean, a lot of people are wondering, why are we so excited for a later round pick? And I think it's that explosive athleticism is why people are so excited. Again, I think he's one of the few guys, not one of the few, but he was on the short list of guys at the interior defensive line position in this draft that kind of fit the criteria that we wanted to see added in terms of that rotational pass rush upside defensive tackle. So that's really where all the excitement comes from, and I'm super excited to get this kid in the purple and gold and black. So do me a favor, hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe if you're new here, and as always, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.